SuperCore inflation just came out. The latest CPI data just came out, and inflation is surging yet again. And people, normally they say, Houston, we have a problem, but I think right now the markets are saying, Jerome, we have a problem. Because this means they came out saying, look, we have disinflation now, we beat inflation, inflation's going away. But no, the Federal Reserve did not beat inflation. They made a massive mistake, because what they did by saying, look guys, we beat inflation, there's going to be massive rate cuts in 2024, interest rates are going to go to zero. Well, everyone went out there and speculated on the markets. They pumped up the markets. They took their profits. They went out there and spent in the real economy, and there's much other things that is leading to inflation in the real economy, like government spending, record immigration and illegal immigration, boosting services inflation and housing, etc. Now they're going to have to answer some tough questions. What are they going to do at their next meeting? They can't use this disinflation narrative any longer. So everyone, we got a lot to cover, so let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into the news, the facts, and the data. So look at this, everyone. Dow closes 400 points lower Wednesday as hot consumer inflation report incites sell-off. So let's get into exactly what happened today, and then more importantly, what's going to happen in the future. So investor sentiment was further dampened following the release of March Fed's meeting minutes, which reflected officials' concerns that inflation isn't moving quickly enough towards the central bank's 2% target. Well, now everyone, it's not moving towards its 2% target. It's moving away from its 2% targets. It's bolting in the opposite direction. So the CPI in March rose 0.4% for the month and 3.5% year over year, versus they expected there was going to be a 0.3% monthly increase. Now also, core inflation, which the Federal Reserve watches more closely, which excludes volatile stuff like food and energy, which is still going up as well, that accelerated 0.4% for the month previous, while rising 3.8% from a year ago compared to the estimate of 0.3%. Now, this as well, we had the 10-year Treasury yields spike, so interest rates are going to go up. We had the real estate sector in the stock market that tanked around 3 to 5%, according to different various stocks in the real estate sector, because I think interest rates need to go up. Now, will the Fed do it? Because, they may say, look, we don't want to look like we're interfering in the election, but they need to lift interest rates right now. Because look at this. The SuperCore inflation measure shows the Fed may have a real problem on its hands. So markets are buzzing about an even more specific price gauge contained within the data, the so-called SuperCore inflation reading. So the gauge measures service inflation, excluding food, energy, and housing, and has been roaring higher lately, up 4.8% year over year in March, and more than 8% at a 3-month annualized pace. That is crazy, everyone, 8%. Now, we all know inflation has not gone down, but now what's simply happening is they can't hide it in the data anymore. They always try to, figure out ways how they can manipulate the data, but they simply cannot manipulate it any longer. And also just type 1 in the chat, everyone, if my mic is working well. So the picture is more complicated because some of the most stubborn components of service inflation are household necessities like car, housing insurance, as well as property taxes. So thanks for that, everyone. That's exactly right. All the necessities to survival are becoming absolutely unbearable. The cost of living just to exist, not live a nice lifestyle, just to exist, is now becoming unbearable. And I've been doing a lot of thinking lately. Is this all part of the Great Reset's plan? For those that don't know, in 2020 they came out with the Great Reset plan saying you will own nothing and be happy. And I always thought, how could people own nothing and be happy? Well, could the plan be make the cost of living so unbearable people have to sell all their assets just to survive, and then they come out when everybody's got no money left, they introduce their central bank digital currency, they give people UBI, and then all of a sudden they look like saviors when really it's problem, reaction, solution. They create this cost of living crisis by letting inflation surge when they should be stopping it. Inflation should have been, squashed 2 years ago. They're still letting it run rampant. Maybe they want this to create the cost of living be so high, people are forced to sell their assets, and then they introduce their central bank digital currency and UBI to gain compliance with the population. That's just a theory. Who knows if that's the case? Now look at this next report. Small business optimism hits 11-year low as inflation fears won't go away. So the business optimism survey showed a reading of 88.5, down nearly a point from February. And a quarter of all respondents cited inflation, in particular high input and labor costs, as the most pressing issue. Now we also have another story here. Shadow bank lending risk triggering a new financial crisis, the IMF is warning as well. So everyone, I know what you're thinking. Well, what does this mean in simple terms? Well, what this simply means is, everyone, the Federal Reserve mucked up. They mucked up big, or maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they wanted this, because what I've been saying all along, this system they've created, they need inflation. There's no way the government can repay the debt right now in today's dollars. They need to devalue the debt by creating more and more inflation, increasing people's incomes, even though they won't keep up with the cost of living, but that means more tax revenue so they can keep servicing the debt. It is a complete Ponzi scheme, everyone. I'm not saying that lightly. The current financial system, the central bank financial system in the US, is a Ponzi scheme. They need to keep on printing money for it to keep going, but unfortunately, they can't do this forever. Just like the Roman Empire tried to do by diluting their currency, this will happen with the US dollar as well. Eventually, they'll print so much that the US will lose its purchasing power, or should I say the US dollar will lose its purchasing power, and the house of cards will come crumbling down. So it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of excuse the Federal Reserve has at their next meeting to why they won't lift interest rates. I think they need to lift interest rates right now. What do all of you guys think? Should they lift interest rates right now? Drop your comments down below. Thanks for watching. You're awesome. I'll see you all in the next video.